Niagara Falls Boulevard. It's a busy road with a history of serious, tragic accidents.
There are renewed calls now to make it safer for pedestrians. In a News 4 special report, Luke Moretti asked state and local officials what's being done to answer that call.
It's enough to make you cringe.
The traffic is real crazy around here.
Watch as traffic whizzes around this man crossing busy Niagara Falls Boulevard. He does it where there's no crosswalk and no traffic signal.
It's very scary watching how people cross the road.
A section of the boulevard north of Interstate 290 has grown significantly in terms of traffic volume and businesses over the years. Unfortunately, so has the number of pedestrian fatalities. Since 2001, at least 11 pedestrians have been killed or seriously injured on a 3-mile stretch that separates the towns of Amherst and Tonawanda.
Lisa lost her life here at this corner.
Mike Monaco's sister Lisa was struck and killed by a vehicle as she crossed to catch a bus.
Lisa was there, right about 2 feet from the curb, and that's where the accident happened.
5 years later, Monaco still carries the pain of losing the only family he had left.
Very hard to cope alone.
He wonders how many others will die before significant changes are made.
There's no lighting here. There's no lighting on either side. The lighting is a big factor.
And street lighting is something that both towns plan to fix. $1 million is on the table for a 3-mile stretch. The project could be done by late next year. Others say speed is a problem. It's 45 miles per hour through here, but not all motorists follow the posted limit. And that can be tricky for pedestrians willing to take a chance.
Pedestrians just really need to kind of adhere to using the crosswalks, crossing at the signal lights, and not crossing mid-block where there's no safety devices in place.
It's a problem that's caught the attention of Amherst Town Supervisor Brian Culpa.
This stretch of road is as bad as anything we have.
Culpa, who has a background in urban planning, believes the emphasis has been on traffic flow and not enough thought to pedestrian access. He says reducing the speed is one option to consider.
Trying to get the speed down to 30, 35, hey, what's wrong with that? It helps businesses, it helps pedestrians.
But that's a state of New York decision because it's a state road. And it's something the State Department of Transportation looked at in the past.
45 miles per hour is okay for that wide of a road for a pedestrian-friendly area?
Yes, it's an appropriate speed limit.
State DOT spokesperson Susan Surde says the agency has made a number of improvements over the years. Things like new curb ramps, pavement markings, upgraded signals, and countdown timers. She says it's up to motorists and pedestrians to do the right thing.
We have people darting out across Niagara Falls Boulevard not using crosswalks. We have people trying to cross not using the buttons so they're not getting that extended period of time.
But what happens when you have bus stops on both sides of an intersection and no crosswalks or traffic signals?
They're just gonna cross right in the middle where the bus stop is at.
Gail Gentry runs the Checkers restaurant at the Boulevard and Thistle Avenue. She has a front row seat to this vehicle versus pedestrian matchup.
Besides a traffic light, I don't know what the answer is going to be. This right here, we could definitely use a traffic light.
But that's easier said than done, according to the state DOT.
In order to install a traffic signal, it has to meet traffic warrants by law. There's a certain number that has to be met for us to install a traffic signal because they're not warranted everywhere. Installing a traffic signal does not automatically solve your problem.
Having bus stops along the boulevard provide a service, according to the NFTA's Tom George.
We need to be careful out here, and we can't just be running for the bus whenever we see it.
Commercial properties are front and center along the boulevard, but behind them are neighborhoods where people live and expect public transportation. Is this intersection a bad spot for bus stops?
If I were to take your suggestion that we shouldn't have these stops here because it encourages poor pedestrian behavior, we could do that, but once again, we would penalize the customers that do behave themselves. There's always room for improvement. You can always try to make things fail-safe, but then there's also human behavior involved in it.
The towns of Amherst and Tonawanda are in the process of doing their own road audit to identify problems. But keep in mind that towns can only do so much since the boulevard is a state road.
To this point, it's been all about the vehicle volume. Now we need to focus on pedestrians because we have a lot of pedestrians.
State Assemblyman Robin Schimminger, who represents the Tonawanda side of the road, agrees.
I'll call it the way I see it. DOT has not really focused on the pedestrian aspects of this highway.
You agree with that?
I don't agree with that. I mean, we're moving anywhere between 35 and 50,000 vehicles a day on Niagara Falls Boulevard. And so obviously you have to have a facility that can handle that volume of traffic. I mean, the commercial areas have grown tremendously, but we also do have pedestrian facilities. We have accommodations for pedestrians, so we're trying to accommodate, all users of the roadway.
Survey points out that improvements were just completed to 25 intersections on the boulevard. The work includes repainting crosswalks to make them more visible. Niagara Falls Boulevard is one of 5 corridors in the state that's been chosen for a long-term study. State officials say an outside consultant will soon begin work to see what can be done to improve pedestrian safety above and beyond what's already in place. Luke Moretti, News 4.